Hauntings of Forgotten by Kochineshka on AO3. Chapter 7. All Might wouldn't be able to tell you how he got all those files for the life of him. He has suspicions from who though, but he wasn't going to complain. It had been the second day after USJ, and with all this info, well, if it was true instead of bait, they could go for all for one by the time of the sports festival. If they made a trap using the fact that his beast student, according to the data they had been given, and Warper were in police custody as of now. It wasn't Tartarus's strength, but neither would it be easy to break them out from. Just enough difficulty to slow that menace, but not enough to make him suspicious. When they made as sure as possible that the file they were gifted was true, they went on to the planning stage. They even already contacted Sir Nightai. They wanted him to use his future vision to look into how the raid would go. Aizawa was happy to have been freed from his duty of talking at Sports Festival, but far less content with a need to help subdue a 200-year-old villain capable of fighting All Might. He was one of the selected few trusted enough to be told about that monster of a man, and additionally, he had a quirk that could help lessen damage tremendously. Now, if they can just surprise attack the man and take care of it quickly. Hoping to take All for One off guard and defeat in one swift attack sounded more like a fever dream rather than an actual possibility, but All Might wanted to let himself hope. It had gone on for too long. He won't let his successor have to go through it. Why don't you use your quirk? Todoroki turned around instantly, eyes creeping onto his arm. He had been startled badly, although his face stayed as calm as ever. After all the training he had to go through, being sneaked up on so easily, it shouldn't be possible. It wasn't possible. So who was this boy? He didn't look like much, honestly, but getting so close unnoticed spoke of worrying quality of skills. Additionally, they were in an empty corridor, pretty far from both arena and lockers. It was suspicious to be approached here. Who are you? He demanded, narrowing his eyes and letting some ice spread on the floor threateningly. If someone asks, he can always say it was a quirk overuse effect. After what he had done to Zero, he doubts anyone wouldn't believe him. No one, really, the kid answered with a small shrug. I guess you might kind of remember me from USJ? You're that vigilante? Todoroki asked, suddenly feeling extremely incredulous. There was no way it was this boy. The beast from there was supposed to kill All Might according to villains, and while Shoto believes the number one hero would have won, all those people seemed to believe they had a chance. So it would mean that this boy had power comparable to All Might's, since he had rendered that monster completely useless. What kind of quirk did he even have? What do you want? The boy smiled sadly. For you to use your power fully. Todoroki felt a lot of negative emotions in his life, but most of the time it came from one specific person. But right now, for some reason, he felt like bristling. What does this stranger even know about him? About his asshole of a father? I'm not going to use that power, he stated immediately. Did my father put you up to this? The boy looked genuinely insulted. Do you think I would even hear him out? Why wouldn't you? He's the number 2 hero. Todoroki shot right back, his anger simmering into something more mellow, hiding underneath confusion. Shoto had no idea what to think about this strange boy and conversation. A discussion happening in the middle of a dark, empty corridor. And abusive, the kid shot right back, and it actually felt like the world stopped for a second for Todoroki. It was said with such certainty, as if the other boy saw it with his own two eyes. It was strange, but not unwanted. It made some deep part of him panic, because even though he kind of wants people to know, he's so used to the fact that no one would ever believe it, that it feels like some kind of universe glitch. How do you know? I saw recommended student exam. You didn't use your fire, and something Inasa mentioned brought my attention. So, long story short, I tend to snoop around too much for my own good. I know a lot of things. Then, do you know what kind of marriage endeavors is? Todoroki inquired, a sudden need to keep the conversation going bubbling inside him. He didn't like talking with people much. Most of them usually associated him with his father. He didn't like that. He didn't want that. You mean quirk marriage problem, right? The kid inquired, and Shoto couldn't help but give a quick nod. Yeah, it's pretty obvious when you glance at your mother's side of the family financial status before and after she got married. I mean, on its own it wouldn't be that weird to help your new family, but your mum doesn't like her parents, does she? Another nod. Why would you say that, then? If you know what kind of person Endeavour is, why would you want me to use his power? He inquired. Because it isn't his quirk, but yours, the boy answered, clearly frustrated. You have amazing power, and it's tragic. That's exactly what your asshole of a father wanted. But it doesn't change the fact that it isn't his fire you wield. It's yours and only yours. It's a part of you. It'll never be his, and it's unfair for you to only use half your power because he's a bastard. Todoroki blinked. For a boy, he saw for the first, second, counting USJ, time in his life, this kid seemed strangely heated to help, Todoroki guesses. That's what this strange individual is trying to do. But it comes from him, he pointed out, actually wanting to hear more. He didn't like his motivation to become the best with his ice only, questioned, but right now he didn't feel angry. There was something in the boy's words that he found intoxicatingly sweet, as if the kid was keeping a promise of freedom Todoroki could never quite reach himself, even though he knows he has it on the tips of his fingertips. And what does it matter? You're a person. You don't belong to him, and neither does your quirk. In any, and I can't repeat it enough, any capacity. It would be fucked up to give up on half of your power capable of great things and saving many people, just because some asshole with issues can't bother to be a good parent. The boy yelled and then huffed, out of breath because of his passionate speech. His voice echoed through the corridor for a second, but as it quieted down, so did the strange boy. I'm sorry. My quirk makes my life kind of hard, but I accept it because I can use it to help others. So it irks me to see you hating half of your power when it hasn't even done anything to you. As much as I can tell, because it hasn't ever burned you or anyone you care about, right? No, it didn't, Todoroki admitted, but was invested in the conversation enough to continue rather than waiting for the other boy to say something. What's your quirk? I call it forgotten. Basically, most people forget everything about me. Some remember me in general, but never any distinctive features. Additionally, they don't pay attention to me. I've attended nearly every 1A class so far, and been entering UA even before it. Unless I initiate contact first, I'm totally, well, forgotten. Well, that definitely sounded like a nightmare of a power to deal with. What about your family? My dad's not really in the picture, and Mum remembers me when she sees me, which is alright. It's more than I can hope of from the rest of the world. There were many things Todoroki wanted to say. Most of them he didn't know how to put into words, other ones on the tip of his tongue when the speakers above came to life. Let's go, everyone! Another match you won't forget! Woohoo! Sorry for taking so much of your time. You really should go get ready, the boy said quickly, already moving in the direction opposite to where Todoroki was heading. If the kid was telling the truth, Shoto wouldn't be able to find him again, to talk to the strange boy ever again, and while he wasn't one for long-drawn conversations or even talking in general, he couldn't help but call out. Let's continue this conversation after the sports festival. The boy turned around, looking at Todoroki curiously. Sure, I'll find you on your way home. Todoroki both did and didn't remember many things from this encounter. It made enough impression to make him question some of his life decisions, but he didn't use his fire quite yet and lost. He felt ready to maybe give it a try though. And of course, there was no way he wouldn't know why he suddenly changed his mind. He knew he had a conversation with the vigilante from USJ and even got the gist of their quirk, but that was pretty much it. No face to describe, no recollection of their voice or even expressions, no remembrance of the promise of another encounter later that day, but the other boy did and readily fulfilled it. And that is how a quite curious relationship came to be. But things can never get too good, as the forgotten boy learned quickly. Stain had attacked again, and you see, while trying to learn about the man's whereabouts was hard, even for a person the world itself slowly forgets, the aforementioned boy felt part of Class A, and it wasn't hard to learn that Ingenium was Ida's older brother. By the end of the second week, the hero killer was taken care of. Kendo was a wonderful, wonderful user. All Might couldn't deny that. It was a great choice, and after some talking, Senaitai did agree that her big fist was perfect for his cumulative power. And even if she couldn't yet use it 100% without spraining her fists, he doesn't even want to imagine what it would happen to someone with less fitting power. Sure, Mirio, for example, definitely had enough buff to take it, but who knows how his strength would act when he's phasing through things. And yet, All Might found himself thinking. Oftentimes his mind would go back to the still unknown vigilante, and he would idly wonder how they would have used One for All. He has a distinct feeling they would be able to put it to good use, but before he could go too far with those thoughts, he quickly shook them off. Kendo is a wonderful protege. He quite possibly couldn't ask for a better successor. Calm yet full of the brawl, confident and rather smart, charismatic, and always ready to act. She reminded him a bit of Nana too. She'd do amazing. Kendo is a wonderful protagonist. Strong, confident, and determined, in front of her classmates and on the battlefield too. Admittedly, she didn't learn much on internships, but even without this, she breezed through the finals. But she's too perfect. How can a story go about someone like her? Someone everyone looks up to, someone who isn't stupid and has a wonderful quirk, additionally strengthened by one for all. She is too blunt sometimes, ready to voice her critical opinions even if it will hurt someone, but that's not enough. Where is her sad backstory? Where's the zero to hero? A story like hers, while beautiful, is lacking. What's there to narrate when she lacks hardships? Day by day, month by month, year by year, she learns and climbs higher, becomes better and stronger, a perfect pillar, unlike All Might, whose image is the only perfect part of his life. But the funniest and maybe the most tragic part is that no matter how powerful, how perfect she becomes, she always falls short of first in rankings. She's not just second but third. The first is Uraraka, loved for her bubbly personality with terrifying determination, and the second, Todoroki, his collected demeanour admired by masses. Cool, oftentimes slightly confused, and eye-catching. No surprise he has so many fans. The two of them often swap places, but Kendo rarely gets the top spot. She'd probably be more frustrated was it not for the fourth place occupied by Bakugo, who was, well, very angry and vocal. He was convinced the two from the top had some kind of helper, one that knew fucking everything about everything, how he oh so eloquently put. And while in the beginning Kendo just rolled her eyes at his antics, she grew to believe his theory. The two always knew where to hit or make it hurt for villains. Because of them, crime went even lower than in All Might's prime, and while she was happy about it, she couldn't help to feel like a disappointment, even if the man himself assured her she was doing an amazing job. It's curious, isn't it? Those two and Shinso too. What kind of connections could they have? Such intricate amounts of details about villains, so easily accessible to them. What kind of organization could they be working with? Strange. I can't seem to remember. But it surely means it's not important. Not for the protagonist of this story. Kendo, at least. Whatever it is, it must be the world's way of giving her a bit of hardship. Which is good, because not all the main characters need to end up on top. Some are enough at the back, helping the ones that aren't quite as fast as the rest. But again, it doesn't make for a very interesting story, so it's high time to move on. Let's see. I like this one. There's quite a vast amount of universes surrounding dozens of details about the individual called Midoriya Izuku. A hero, a villain, a vigilante, a mix of some or even all of the above. Quackless, quacked, or even with power not contained within such categories. With abilities capable of bringing great changes, villainous ones, subtle yet life-changing, or just simply normal. One for all for one. So many possibilities, they might as well be described as endless. This world is a small one, not shocking in any way and neither overly special. It's forgotten between all the grandness of the universe, just like its main character. It feels strangely familiar, but I don't remember from where, so it will do. The story of a forgotten boy, Midoriya Izuku.